description of an ancient Romanian ruler, Vlad Dracula.
Stoker creates a character based on historic fact, and really then taking the name that he's very fond of because it not only sounds foreign, it sounds, as he writes in one of his journals, it smacks of evil.
In taking the name, but not the actual history, Bram Stoker forever associates Dracula with the image of a blood-sucking demon of the night. But the real Vlad Dracula may actually have been even more bloodthirsty than his fictional namesake. Born in 1431, Vlad Dracula is a provincial prince whose responsibility is to protect his subjects from the invading Muslim Turks.
And he saw the preservation of Christianity in his region as paramount to his existence. And as a result, he used means that today we would certainly consider brutal, almost barbaric, but he did manage to do the job.
He was just doing psychological warfare. He established a method to dishonor the soldiers and just impale them. That was the ultimate embarrassment, especially for Muslim soldiers.
Impalement is considered one of the most vicious and inhumane methods of execution. Death by impalement can take hours or even days, and the victims often remain conscious for the duration. For Vlad Dracula, this was part of the fun.
He actually liked to watch the people being executed. If dinner time came, he would eat while he was watching what was going on.
But was Vlad Dracula really a vampire?
There's no actual historic documentation that Vlad Tzepes Dracula ever drank human blood, but we do have a large amount of documentation that he did impale people, that he did have a kind of historic bloodlust that probably gives him that reputation as being the first historic vampire.
Most Romanians, however, would beg to differ.
The Romanian people, even today, view Vlad Tzepes Dracula as one of their national heroes, almost in a kind of Robin Hood way.
If you look at history, he did keep the Ottoman Empire from taking over Central and then Western Europe.
In Romania, the location of the real Transylvania, the very idea that Vlad Dracula is thought of as history's greatest monster is insulting.
It's a big offense because he's a national hero, and it would be like saying Abraham Lincoln was an antisocial, psychopathic crack user. It's just not true.
Still, for Romanians, there is an upside to Bram Stoker's legacy. In this country, Dracula's not just a character, he's an industry.
The modern Dracula industry in Romania is a product of the Ceausescu era. And Mr. Ceausescu needed to raise money for his country, and he saw the tourist trade as a possibility and discovered Dracula as a thing that might interest the tourist.
Travel through the capital of Bucharest, or better yet, to the literary home of Dracula himself, Castle Bran, and you will be assaulted by all things Dracula. But ask any Romanian on the street, and you'll find that Count Dracula the Vampire is a complete fiction, a story made up by a foreigner to titillate other foreigners.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but in Transylvania there are no vampires, there never were vampires, and I hope there are never going to be vampires.
Romanian people are very happy because it brings money. So I would say it is a stupidity from an historical point of view.
So do vampires really exist? Are there any hard facts behind the folk tales that fueled Bram Stoker's classic tale? The answer is a gruesome yes. The likely muse for Bram Stoker, and arguably one of the most bloodthirsty humans in history, really does come from Eastern Europe. Her name is Countess Elizabeth Báthory. She presides over a province in the region of Transylvania. This single act of senseless violence foreshadows an era of terror. Before she's done, hundreds of innocent virgins will die at her hand, and an entire kingdom will tremble in fear. And when this serial killer is caught, the fate she suffers will rival the horrors she has inflicted. Myths of the blood-sucking undead have been part of human culture for thousands of years. But our current image of the vampire, an aristocrat with a dark obsession, is considerably more modern. In the early 1600s, a Transylvanian countess' bizarre rituals epitomized the vampire. Her name is Elizabeth Bathory.
Elizabeth had an unfortunate history. A beautiful woman who was married to a relentless, unpleasant man, a man named Ferenc. What he didn't anticipate was that Elizabeth would succeed him in ruling this region of Hungary.
Ferenc? Ferenc!
And she brought a lot of what he taught her to the throne.
Pig.
Bathory was a lesbian. She was also a person who was very concerned about her youth and her appearance. And somewhere along the line, as she began to get into her 30s, she became concerned that wrinkles were beginning to appear.
She considered herself a beautiful woman. She surrounded herself with young girls as a reminder of the youthful beauty of virginal young women.
I'll tell you again. You must neither be loose or tight. Yes, my lady. Warning you, there'll be no second chance for you. You! You asleep down there.
No, my lady, no.
Then pay heed to your work, wretch. Fields are full of those who gladly take your place.
Yes, my lady.
It is her obsession with beautiful, virginal chambermaids that transforms Elizabeth Bathory from oversexed noblewoman to living monster. This metamorphosis is triggered by a single act.
Oh! Let's go!
No, please, no.
If there is an origin to the modern vampire, it may be on this day in 1609, when Countess Elizabeth Bathory first formulates her master plan.
She feels that her skin is being revitalized by the blood.
Elizabeth Bathory begins to lust for the blood of virginal females. Aided by her manservant Fichko and 3 other chambermaids, Elizabeth Bathory begins to lure young women to her castle.
Elizabeth, by benefit of her position, lures these young girls from neighboring villages to work for her. She puts out word into many of the villages of the area she rules, saying that she has within the castle a kind of finishing school for young ladies, a kind of way to become a proper courtly young woman rather than just a village peasant. And as a result, she gets many recruits. Most of them had no idea that they were simply fodder for Elizabeth's own vanity.
There were all these rumors that you'd see her black coach go by and you knew that she had collected yet another girl and who would never be seen again.
But no good comes to any servant who ever enters the castle.
And she was killing them, no doubt about it.
Elizabeth Bathory is no common murderer. For her, torture is high art, and human blood is her medium. For 10 years, Bathory uses a variety of devices to systematically torture girls and drain their blood.
So this blood would be collected, placed into a large tub. Elizabeth would use this for everything from bathing to drinking, to washing her face with, to preserve her own youth.
Just bathing in human blood is not enough for the Countess. She also craves much more direct contact.
She liked torturing them. She liked to bite them. She'd keep them in cages, she'd keep them in dungeons.
For over 20 years, the Countess imposes her will on scores of young peasant girls. She meets with no resistance. But finally, she makes a mistake. One even she can't cover up.
It was when she had exhausted girls in her immediate area among the peasantry and started in on the children of the other nobles that the nobles went, hey, this has got to stop.
She was a wealthy, well-connected woman. Who was going to stop her?